Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating 30-day experiment that completely exposes the simple yet absolutely mind-blowing compounding power of a 20% savings bucket. Seriously, if you've ever looked at your bank account at the end of the month and thought, where on earth did all my money go? Well, you're going to want to pay close attention. We're unpacking a framework today based on some real-world testing by Jack Explains Money, and it is practically guaranteed to change how you look at your paycheck. So let's get right into it. We've all been there, right? You open your banking app on payday, your balance is looking great, and then, poof, it vanishes to rent, groceries, and takeout before you even know what hit you. Everything feels fine for a hot second, and then the spending starts, and suddenly you're drained. So why does our best intention to save usually fall apart so incredibly fast? Well, usually we hit the internet for answers, and we always get slapped with the standard advice. Just budget better, track every dollar, cut your spending. It sounds great in theory, doesn't it? It sounds super responsible. But let's be real, in practice, it is incredibly exhausting to meticulously categorize every single thing you buy. When you have to track every coffee, every utility bill, and every random little subscription on some massive spreadsheet, it literally becomes a second job. The harsh reality here is that these hyper-detailed budgets fail because we just don't have the time, the energy, or the patience to keep them up. The expectation is that you'll flawlessly track every dollar, but the reality? Most people try this kind of strict budgeting for what, maybe 3 days before throwing their hands up and just quitting entirely. And when you give up, you're left feeling like your money is just evaporating on its own, leaving you feeling totally out of control. But what if, instead of micromanaging 40 different expense categories, you used a much simpler framework, one that just divides your income into 3 easy buckets? Just look at how clean this concept is compared to staring at a massive, complicated spreadsheet. You're looking at a system that relies on broad strokes rather than crazy hyperfixation. Enter the 50-30-20 rule. It's this highly effective, wonderfully simple financial system that takes your income and splits it into just 3 distinct categories: 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for saving and investing. That's it, the whole shebang. This rule completely eliminates complicated spreadsheets and all that guesswork. It gives your money a basic, reliable structure so you can finally stop wondering where it went and start telling it where to go. So let's break down exactly what goes into these buckets, starting with the big one. Your first bucket takes up about half your income, and it is strictly for the absolute essentials. We're talking keeping a roof over your head, keeping the lights on, putting basic groceries in the fridge, and making sure your car actually gets you to work. These are your absolute non-negotiables, the things you literally must pay for to live. Okay, moving to the second bucket. This takes up 30% of your income, and it's for your wants. This is the fun bucket, guys. Friday night takeout, your streaming subscriptions, those weekend trips, that fancy latte you love. It's all the stuff that makes life enjoyable. But as we're about to see, it's also the most dangerous bucket if you leave it unchecked. It is absolutely crucial to put strict boundaries on these wants. Why? Well, research from the Bureau of Labor Statistics actually shows that discretionary spending quietly eats away at your wealth. Think about it. A $15 lunch here, a $20 subscription there, $30 on dinner delivery. They feel so small in the moment, right? But do that a few times a week, and suddenly you're spending hundreds of dollars without even blinking. Now, you might be looking at that first bucket and thinking, hey, my rent alone takes up almost half my paycheck, and that is totally valid. If you live in a super expensive city where housing alone breaks that 50% limit, you can absolutely tweak the ratios. Maybe you adjust to a 60-20-20 split instead. Because the ultimate goal here is creating a balanced structure, not flawless perfection. The 50-30-20 rule is really just a guideline to get you started on the right path. Section 1, the power of 20%, where the math becomes powerful. All right, let's dive into the absolute core focus of this explainer, the massive wealth-building engine that is the 20% savings and investing bucket. This is that third bucket, and honestly, this is where the math becomes undeniably powerful. Let's look at some hard numbers to really grasp this. Imagine someone earning $4,000 a month after taxes. If they follow this rule, dedicating 20% to savings, that means they are setting aside exactly $800 every single month. Boom. Simple, clear, zero guesswork involved. Now look at what happens to that $800 over time. Setting it aside translates to a solid $9,600 a year. Not bad at all. But the real magic? That happens when you invest it. By investing that money at an average return of 8% per year, it transforms into roughly $450,000 over 20 years. I mean, wow, that is the jaw-dropping power of the 20% savings bucket. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's the quiet, steady engine of compound interest working for you in the background. So here is the crucial point. The real mathematical revelation here is that wealth isn't generated from winning the lottery, or honestly, even from picking the absolute perfect stock. Most people don't fail financially because they make bad investments. They fail because they never create the space to invest in the first place. Wealth comes from consistently creating that 20% space in your budget and letting your money compound year after year. Section 2. The psychology of simple structure, ditching financial guilt. Beyond the incredible math, committing to this framework gives you massive psychological relief. It completely changes how your brain prioritizes spending. Think about it through this analogy. Most people treat their money like a messy closet. Everything just gets thrown in there randomly, and eventually it's totally impossible to find anything or even know what you have. Just total chaos. But this rule, it acts like 3 clean shelves: needs, wants, and savings. Suddenly, everything has a dedicated place, and your financial chaos becomes instantly manageable. And because everything is on its proper shelf, an amazing psychological shift happens. When you know you have a fixed amount explicitly set aside for your wants, you stop mindlessly spending. You start intentionally choosing what you actually value most. You might catch yourself asking, do I really want this takeout more than those concert tickets later this month? And if it fits in your bucket, you buy it with zero guilt. It completely eliminates the stress of spending because it was already planned for. You see, the real secret of this system isn't the specific percentages themselves. Actually, scratch that. It's the absolute clarity it provides. When your financial decisions become clear, your behavior improves automatically. The structure does the heavy lifting, maintaining your budget so you don't have to rely on constant, grueling discipline. Saving money actually starts to feel automatic, rather than feeling like a chore. If you want to experience this clarity for yourself, your action plan is incredibly straightforward. Step 1, calculate your monthly take-home income. Step 2, divide it into your 3 buckets: 50 for needs, 30 for wants, and 20 for saving. And step 3, just treat it as a 30-day experiment. Just observe and track your habits within this new structure for 1 month. You will be absolutely amazed by the awareness it brings to your daily life. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on. The biggest financial mistake people make isn't necessarily overspending, it's operating without any clear structure. Ask yourself right now, are you currently following a system to deliberately structure your wealth, or are you just spending and hoping everything magically works out at the end of the month? Give your money a structure, harness that 20% savings power, and just watch how it transforms your future.